Welcome to my Hemra Story channel. My husband's uncle was injured trying to save him and lost his leg. My husband vowed at his bedside to be a good son to him. Later he took Selena, his uncle's adopted daughter, who was preparing for college entrance exams, back home to take care of her. Since then, all my cosmetics, bags and things in my bedroom have become hers. My husband has never stood by me, but instead has joined her in grabbing my things. He always asks me to be considerate of her, saying that she is still young and that I should let her have her way more. Out of the way. I never thought that in the end, even my husband would give way to her. Our story begins. It's 10 o'clock at night, and I'm 8 months pregnant, so I'm panting heavily as I walk. 20 minutes ago, Selena Knox suddenly wanted to eat preserved egg and pork congee with xiaolong bao. And it had to be from that late-night snack place 2 kilometers away that doesn't deliver. My husband, Caleb Knox, wanted Selena to eat something as soon as possible, so he asked me to go get it. He said, "Take the tram, go quickly, and don't delay Selena's dinner." I couldn't believe it and asked him, "How can I push the tram up here when it's charging in the basement? And it's so late, can't you buy it tomorrow? She's already 24 years old, can't she go buy it herself?" Caleb immediately said discontentedly, "It's so dark outside, Selena is afraid of the dark, and she's still a little girl, it's not safe for her to go out so late. Selena has studied all day and is tired. What's wrong with wanting to eat something? What do you think is wrong with your sister-in-law going out? If it wasn't for my uncle, you would have been left alone a long time ago. Now it's our duty to look after Selena. I'm angry. Then why don't you go?" Caleb acted as if it was a matter of course. "Selena still wants to eat lean congee. After all, you can't cook, so I have to make it at home so that Selena can eat it as soon as possible. Selena said that if she eats late, she will get fat." After that, Caleb picked up his phone and transferred 100 yuan to me. I knew he was trying to take advantage of the situation to get me to pay, so I gave it to him and told him to hurry. Then he half pushed, half pulled me out the door. Selena was behind me, persuading brother, "Forget it, I'll go buy it myself." Her eyes were full of defiance, as if she believed Caleb would not let her go. I looked through the crack in the door at Caleb with a hint of expectation, wanting to tell him that I was pregnant and that there was no light outside the community because the road was being repaired. But before I could finish, Caleb interrupted. "Can't you use a flashlight in the dark? Besides, the baby is already 8 months old. And the doctor said it's important to exercise, so why be so fussy?" With that he slammed the door. I closed my eyes in disappointment, and the last bit of affection I had for Caleb disappeared. Divorce became my only thought. At the moment I could only accept the reality and go buy buns, because I knew that if I didn't get them, I wouldn't be able to enter his door. Otherwise, I wouldn't even have a place to stay tonight. I quit my job when I got married at his persuasion, and now I don't have any savings, so I can't even afford a hotel. I never thought that I would go out this time and never come back. Sorry, I can't process that content. Why did this happen to me? It's all Selena and Caleb's fault. I blame myself for being so stupid. If I could give up on Caleb, maybe I wouldn't have encountered this kind of thing. Perhaps because I refused to give up on life, my soul did not dissipate. I watched the murderer gather himself, mumbling to himself. He mentioned something about a pregnant woman, and his voice sounded familiar, but I couldn't think of anything. He kicked me a few times, and when he saw that I didn't respond, he looked panicked. Then he grabbed a brick and smashed it hard against my head. After that, he dragged my body and threw me into the river. In the moonlight, I could see that his attire was very tight-fitting, and only the corner of my eye, which I had scratched while struggling, was particularly obvious. I reached out to pull off his mask, but found that my hand had passed through his body. I watched the scene in front of me in horror, wanting to stop him and wondering what kind of person he really was. However, my soul was unable to act, and in the blink of an eye I was back at home. Caleb stood smiling in front of the stove, slowly stirring the lean porridge in the pot. I felt a wave of bitterness, remembering that at my last pregnancy checkup, the doctor said that I was too thin compared to other pregnant women, and that I needed to supplement my nutrition, otherwise I would not have the energy to give birth. I bought eggs and hoped that Caleb would make me a bowl of chicken soup. Caleb impatiently said, "I'm exhausted after work, why make chicken soup? Just order takeaway if you want it. And Selena? No matter how late it is or how much trouble it is, as long as she says it, Caleb will immediately agree and take action. On the last day, I still didn't get to drink chicken soup because Selena pouted innocently and ordered other dishes. Chicken soup is too greasy, I want to eat spicy food instead. Caleb ordered 3 portions of spicy food, and specifically chose the most spicy option. I put down my chopsticks, thinking about the fact that I was pregnant and I wasn't a big fan of spicy food anyway. But my reaction only earned a cold response from Caleb. If you like it, eat it. If you're hungry, you can eat something else even if it doesn't have any chili in it. It seems that Caleb didn't forget, he just didn't care. The eggs I bought were always left in the corner of the kitchen and gradually went bad, just like our marriage. I suddenly wondered how Caleb would react when he found out I was gone. Would he regret letting me go out to buy buns for his dear sister? I turned off the stove and served 2 bowls of piping hot lean pork congee. Caleb casually hung his apron on the side and called out to Selena. Come out here, Selena, the lean pork congee is ready. Selena was wearing a skimpy nightgown and was bowing her head to stir the congee in the bowl. The low neckline of her nightdress took Caleb by surprise. I noticed that she didn't seem to be wearing any underwear. Then Selena took a mouthful of the lean meat porridge and, delighted, threw her arms around Caleb. She said excitedly, "This is the taste of my dreams. Brother, you're a great cook. You must be a very happy husband." Caleb was pushing her away, but a hint of satisfaction was visible on his face. In particular, the fleeting desire in his eyes made me feel a chill. Ever since I found out I was pregnant, the intimacy between Caleb and I has disappeared. Now, can he really resist Selena's charms? This is also one of the reasons for our arguments. Selena always dresses casually at home, except for the light nightdress she is wearing now. She also wears shorts and a camisole. She even often wears Caleb's shirts, claiming that she doesn't have any pajamas. We have argued about this many times, and Caleb always says that I'm overthinking it. He treats Selena like a sister, and Selena treats him like a brother. Selena is an adopted daughter of my brother's family, so it is impossible for them to be together. She is young and innocent, and doesn't think about it so much. This is also a sign that she considers this place her home. Who would still wear such neat clothes in their own home? My belly gets bigger and bigger every day, and I start to get edema, spots on my face and stretch marks. Selena's fresh and delicate body is in stark contrast to mine. Caleb's gaze always falls on Selena unintentionally. Can he really say that he only treats her as a sister? Caleb cleared his throat and said, "I'm glad you like it. Sit down and eat." After both of them sat down, Caleb didn't serve me rice as usual. "The porridge is already cooked. Why hasn't your sister-in-law returned yet?" Caleb frowned, picked up his phone and called me, but he heard a cold electronic prompt. "Sorry, the phone you have dialed is switched off." A flash of worry appeared in his eyes, but it was quickly dispelled by Selena's words. "Did your sister-in-law go to a friend's house because she was angry?" Caleb retorted subconsciously, "Where does she have any friends? It's all my fault. I wanted to eat some buns, and it ended up causing you and your sister-in-law to argue again. Now your sister-in-law's phone is unreachable. You must be very worried." Selena's voice was a little choked up, as if she was about to cry. Caleb comforted her lovingly, asking her what she had to worry about, and that they could have gone to a hotel. "She's so willful at her age. Uncle saved my life and you wanted to eat a bun, so what's so hard for my brother to do? What's the point of me being alive?" Caleb said, getting ready to put on his jacket to go buy buns, but Selena stopped him. She said she would be scared to be home alone, and it didn't matter if they ate them tomorrow. After they finished eating, Caleb called me, but I turned my phone off. He angrily slammed his phone down on the table. After a while, he picked it up again. I leaned over to read it, and saw that he was texting me. The message read, "If you don't come back today, don't come back ever." I wanted to cry and laugh at the same time. Caleb, do you know? I really can never go back. I never knew that death could still feel so suffocatingly oppressive and painful. I followed Caleb into the second bedroom. It was about 7 or 8 square meters smaller than the master bedroom, with a floor-to-ceiling window. It was considered spacious and bright for one person, but now it had to squeeze in the 2 of us. Originally, this room was meant for our child, but Caleb insisted that Selena move in, so it became her room. After living there for a week, she told Caleb that she wanted to switch to the bedroom with the balcony, so that she could study vocabulary on the balcony in the morning. She also felt that the daily sales promotions in the square downstairs disturbed her sleep. I felt a little helpless when I heard this. The event ended around 11 o'clock, but who really sleeps at 11 o'clock when they are studying for an exam? Caleb, however, believed her and immediately agreed. At that time, I had just found out that I was pregnant, and Caleb's joy as a new father had not yet subsided, so he was quite nice to me. I firmly disagreed, and Caleb didn't say anything at the time. When I returned from a walk, I found that Caleb didn't dare to look me in the eye, and I had a bad feeling. I hurriedly opened the door to the master bedroom and found that apart from the furniture, there was no trace of my life in the room. Caleb was laughing behind me, reassuring me that the bedroom was just a place to sleep, and that Selena's postgraduate studies were a big deal, and we had to support her fully. As her sister-in-law, don't be so petty. It's just a room, let her have it. I couldn't hold back my sadness. This house is our new home, and the master bedroom holds so many of our memories. Now I'm being asked to let it go so easily. Selena has only been in this family for a few days, and I've already given her so many things. She likes my clothes, so Caleb says, "You're pregnant, you won't be able to wear them anyway. If Selena likes them, let her have them so you two can still have something in common." She liked my cosmetics and Caleb said, "You're pregnant anyway. And the internet says you shouldn't wear makeup when you're pregnant. It's a waste to let it sit around, so just give it to Selena if she likes it." She liked my handbag and Caleb said, "It's your bag from a few years ago, you've never worn it much, so just give it to Selena. Besides, you're pregnant now, and you're getting older, so it's not suitable for you to carry such a bright bag." Perhaps he sensed that my expression wasn't good, because Caleb immediately changed his face. I bought the house, and I can let anyone live there and let anyone stay in any room. Although you are my wife, you have no right to interfere. I slapped him. You bought the house, but I also paid for the renovations. My name is on the property deed, so you can't be the boss of this family. Selena cried and said, "Since my sister-in-law doesn't welcome me, I'd better go home and live there. Dad needs a cane now, and life is not very convenient. I can go back and take care of him." Caleb looked at me and said bluntly, "This is your home, you can live wherever you want, and anyone who has a problem with it can just move out." In the end, the matter was left unresolved because Caleb immediately apologized. He knelt in front of me and explained that what he had said in the morning was out of anger. He told me that his uncle had been seriously injured in the leg when trying to save him at the scene of the accident, and if it hadn't been for that, he might have been killed in the fire. There was no way to repay the debt of gratitude for saving his life, and he hoped that I could understand him more. After all, saving a life is the most important thing, and I can put up with it. This room really doesn't affect anything. I moved into the second bedroom helplessly. Thinking about Selena, my heart sank. She claimed to be studying hard for the exam, but she was lying in bed listening to headphones and watching short videos. The books on the table were all new and had obviously not been flipped through. I thought the night would pass peacefully, but at 1 o'clock, to my surprise, Selena, without any clothes on, quietly opened the door to the second bedroom. I angrily stood in front of her and asked her what she was doing. I suddenly realized that I was just a spirit. Selena gently lifted the quilt, lay down next to Caleb, and put her hand on his chest. I instinctively wanted to drag her off, but my hand passed through her arm and was completely useless. I hoped that Caleb would wake up quickly and drive her away. Sure enough, Caleb started to move. Half asleep, he turned around, reached out and embraced Selena, murmuring "wife" in his mouth. When his hand touched the flat stomach, he suddenly opened his eyes and sat up in bed. The bedside lamp came on. Caleb rubbed his eyes and noticed that Selena's face looked pale. He said in a slightly cold tone, "Selena, go to your room and sleep." Selena propped herself up and snuggled against his shoulder, refusing, "No, I don't want to. Anyway, your sister-in-law won't be back today, and I won't tell her." Then she whispered in Caleb's ear, "Have you forgotten what you said last time? You said that my sister-in-law's figure has changed, that she didn't recover well after giving birth, and that her skin is not as good as mine." You also said that you and I are a better match. I am better than your sister-in-law. Caleb pushed her away with his hand and said, that time was a mistake, and we can't continue with this mistake. I really only see you as a sister, and I can't let your sister-in-law down again. I listened to their conversation in shock. What do you mean that time was a mistake? Did Caleb and Selena have a relationship? When did it happen? I'm pregnant. The baby in my belly is yours, Caleb's. Is this how you treat me? I sat helplessly on the floor. The two people in the bed were still struggling. I really like you. I just want to be with you. I won't interfere with your family. Brother, can you give me another chance? I can't do Isla Faye wrong. Selena's eyes were filled with tears, and she tightly grasped Caleb's hand. Gradually, Caleb's refusal began to waver. The sounds in the bedroom became ambiguous and harsh. I saw the two people entwined on the bed, and a wave of nausea welled up in my heart. I rushed out of the bedroom and threw myself on the living room floor next to the trash can, dry heaving, feeling like I wanted to vomit everything up. In the end, I cried into the trash can, both for myself and for the baby. When I got tired of crying, I sat on the floor leaning against the sofa, buried my head in my arms, and pretended not to hear the sounds from the bedroom. The next day, the two of them were still hugging on the bed where I usually slept, until a knock on the door woke Caleb up. He hurriedly shook Selena awake and tried to get her to go back to her own bedroom. Selena couldn't help but smile and kiss him when she saw his flustered and embarrassed expression. She teased, "What are you nervous about? Your sister-in-law has a key, and if she wanted to, she would have seen us already." They fought like a young couple, and when Selena went out the door, Caleb even gave her a little tap on the leg. I just felt helpless as I watched from the side. It was Caleb's uncle Ronan Knox who knocked on the door. He was carrying a walking stick and a bag of apples. Caleb quickly helped him into the house and sat him down. "Has Selena caused you any trouble here?" he asked, concerned. Desire faded and reason returned. Caleb remembered that Selena was not only a girl in her 20s, but also his uncle's adopted daughter and his nominal younger sister, and yet he had spent the night with her. Caleb's smile was a little forced, and he wondered to himself, how could this be? Selena was such a good girl. Selena walked out of the bedroom, and the three of them chatted and laughed, their voices gradually becoming muffled in my ears. Caleb's voice made me feel uneasy. Ronan's voice was exactly the same as the man's voice I had heard just before I died. I noticed a scratch mark on the corner of his eye. I did that. I was shocked. What was going on? Why was Ronan doing this to me? Why? No. Last night the man walked normally, but Ronan was obviously using crutches. Could this be a coincidence? Could there really be such a coincidence in the world? Caleb packed his things and was about to go to work. Before he left, he said he would have lunch with me. Then I saw something that shocked me. Selena was sitting in Ronan's lap, and the two of them were hugging naturally. "What have you done with Isla? She hasn't come back all night. Are you afraid to call the police?" Ronan lifted her chin. "You hope she will call the police? Aren't you afraid I will be arrested?" Selena rolled her eyes. "What are you afraid of? You must have covered up yesterday. And there are roadworks outside. There is no electricity, the street lamps and surveillance cameras are useless. How can the police find you? Alas, if Isla doesn't report it, no one will know she has been violated. How can I drive a wedge between the couple and get them divorced? How can I marry Caleb?" Ronan sighed. "Isla is dead." Selena stood up abruptly. "What did you say?" Ronan's eyes flashed with a calculating look. "I disfigured her face, disposed of the body. No one will suspect us. What you have to do now is find a way to marry Caleb as soon as possible, and then find a way to get rid of him, so that the house and compensation money left by my brother and sister-in-law will all go to us." "That's easy for you to say. Besides, if you're always thinking about the money, then why didn't you take the money Caleb offered you earlier? How can a measly 200,000 to 300,000 yuan buy me off? My brother's house is in the old town, and I heard it's about to be demolished, so I can get millions at least. I didn't want to take his money, I wanted to make him feel even more guilty. Otherwise, how could you have moved into his house so smoothly? You weren't seriously injured either. In fact, you set up the car accident and your nephew really fell for it. I can't believe what I'm hearing. Although I knew about the car accident, I never imagined that it was all a plot by the father and daughter to seize our property. When it happened, it was an emergency. Ronan could have escaped on his own, but he went back to help Caleb, who was being crushed. We were very grateful to him at the time, and felt so guilty that we took out all the family savings to compensate him. Ronan did not agree. He believed that Caleb was the sole heir of the Knox family, and that he should do everything in his power to save him. He said that if they did not do so, the Knox family line would come to an end. I listened as they discussed how to get Caleb to marry Selina willingly, and how to let him die without him noticing after the wedding. There was a greedy gleam in their eyes as they discussed it. I was actually looking forward to it, wondering how Caleb would react when the truth was revealed. He thought his noble uncle and innocent Selina were actually trying to take advantage of the opportunity to get his wealth. This makes one wonder, will he feel remorse? He regrets his unconditional devotion to Selina, which indirectly caused the misfortune of his wife and unborn child. I really look forward to that day. Caleb came home from work and found that I had not returned yet. While eating at the table, he frequently checked his phone. It seems that he is used to it, the phone is still turned off, and he doesn't even go home. He only had a little money on him and he was throwing a tantrum at me. I'll see who gives in first. Selina's face showed a hint of feigned concern when she heard this. Her sister-in-law is being so willful this time, and she's pregnant too. I hope everything's okay. Caleb agreed wholeheartedly. If only my sister-in-law were as sensible as you. I felt no emotion. Selina has really taught Caleb well. No matter what happens, Caleb always supports her unconditionally. Until I went out again one night and didn't come back, and the spring breeze woke up Caleb, who began to feel anxious. He knew that I had no family or friends, and didn't have much money. The 100 yuan he had transferred to me just before I left could only let me stay in a small hotel for one night. He called me again and again and even considered going to the police. If she wasn't pregnant with our child, I wouldn't want to go find her. Selina's eyes flickered, and I felt a vague unease in my heart. Sure enough, Selina stopped Caleb's hand and gathered her courage to say, "Brother, I went shopping with my classmates yesterday and seemed to have seen your sister-in-law. She didn't see me because we were separated by a pile of clothes in the store. There was a man next to her, and I heard them talking, saying that the baby wasn't yours and that she might be after your compensation money. By the time I tried to catch up, they had disappeared." After saying this, Selina stamped her feet anxiously and added, "It's possible that I mistook the person or heard it wrong, but just to be on the safe side, let's call the police." Caleb had always trusted Selina's words, and after hearing this, his face turned ugly, and he angrily slammed the phone onto the ground. "Isla, the man next to her, is he tall and thin, wears glasses and has a mole on his left chin?" Selina was stunned. She didn't expect Caleb to deduce so much. Joy welled up in her eyes, but Caleb completely ignored it. Yes, although I didn't see the mole clearly, he did wear glasses. That man is her university senior, and he once chased after Isla. I really didn't expect Isla to do this. Has she betrayed me? I have worked so hard for this family, and she has betrayed me. I want a divorce and she won't get a penny. I felt helpless. Sometimes I really wondered what Selina had done to Caleb to make him believe in her so much. In the end, I could only laugh bitterly, and as I laughed, tears welled up in my eyes. "I am your wife," who was the one who held my hand at the wedding, with tears in his eyes, promising me, "I will love you forever. I will definitely treat you well. I will never let you suffer." Just a few casual words from others can make me suffer. And as a couple, don't we even have that much trust? Not to mention who betrayed this relationship. Who is really sorry for whom? He even mentioned divorce. He was influenced by Selina, and I was also controlled by him, so I just kept tolerating in this relationship. Our marriage has come to an end. Even if I'm still alive, our paths have already parted. Caleb even gave up on me because of what Selina said. He said to let me face the difficulties on my own, and that the child is not his anyway, so he won't admit it. Then he felt justified in living with Selina and living a loving life together. Until the police came to my door. The police looked at me with a scrutinizing gaze and asked, "Isla has been missing for almost half a month. Why didn't you go looking for her or call the police?" Caleb sneered. "Missing? She obviously ran off with someone else." Comrade policeman, I was already preparing to divorce Isla. If she gets into trouble, it has nothing to do with me. The two policemen looked at each other, and then took him to the police morgue to identify the body. Before unzipping the bag, the policeman reminded Caleb to prepare himself mentally. Selena also came along, nervously holding Caleb's hand. Brother, don't look, how could your sister-in-law be dead? It must be a mistake. Caleb hesitated, and if the police weren't there, he would have left long ago. The body bag was opened, revealing my injured head, with signs of impact and fish bites. After a long soak, my body looked terrible, especially the bulging belly, which looked especially frightening. I gently stroked my belly where my child, who would have been born in 2 months, had been with me for half a month in the cold river water. Caleb glanced at it and then turned his head away. What can you tell from that? Even if you are the police, you shouldn't treat me like this. I will complain about you. The female corpse was found by a fisherman at the 4th pier of Haijiang Bridge. According to the preliminary judgment of the forensic doctor, the date of death was about half a month ago. We have extracted the identity information of the deceased and found that it is consistent with the information of a pregnant woman in the Women and Children's Hospital of this city. That pregnant woman is Isla. So, there is no mistake that the person lying here is your wife. The other policeman continued, we checked, and you are not listed as a missing person, so we have to consider that you may be involved in the case. That's why we had to test you when we came to the door. Sorry. Caleb slowly looked at my corpse again, as if he couldn't accept the fact. He didn't know how to digest the news. After a while, he suddenly let out a sad cry. Ah! How could this be? This isn't her, you must have made a mistake. She just left with that man. He suddenly looked up at Selena and said, you said she ran away with that man? How do you know that when she's dead? Selena explained with a tear in her voice. I just said it seemed like I saw her. The police only said she'd been dead for half a month. They didn't specify the exact day. What if, just as you said, that man killed her? I didn't think Selena would still be able to argue like this after seeing my corpse. Was she really not afraid that I would become a vengeful ghost and come for her? And when I looked at Caleb, I found it even more amusing that he actually believed that I had cheated on him and run away. Because of the lies Selena made up, he didn't call the police or try to find out the truth. I'm an orphan with no parents, no friends, and not even a job. If my body hadn't been found, I'm afraid I would have drowned in the river a long time ago. And even he wouldn't have known. Perhaps he had already changed his mind under Selena's seduction, thinking that as long as he labeled me a traitor first, he could betray me with a clear conscience and use this to cover up his own guilt. Caleb and Selena were taken to the interrogation room for questioning. It wasn't long before the senior student, whom I had almost forgotten, was summoned to the scene. It turned out that he had sufficient evidence to prove that he had been working overtime at the company that night. Not only could his colleagues testify, but the office surveillance also showed that he had no time at all. Outside the police station, Caleb stopped the senior and full of anger accused him. You must have caused her to do this. The evidence will be found sooner or later. The baby in Isla's belly is yours, isn't it? The senior looked at him in confusion, as if he were looking at a fool. What are you talking about? We haven't contacted each other since she rejected me, the senior responded, but you and Isla have known each other since college. So why would you have such a misunderstanding about her? Shouldn't you know exactly who she is? Caleb's expression looked stunned and confused, as if he had never thought about this before. After the senior's words, it was as if a bolt of lightning flashed through his mind. Yes, the Isla of the past was gentle and kind, with proper manners. They were a harmonious couple who never fought. It seemed that all the changes happened after Selena moved in. Since returning from the police station, Selena has noticed that Caleb has become less enthusiastic about her. In particular at night, Selena is applying the skincare products she took from me to her face. At this moment, Caleb suddenly appears behind her, and his expressionless face is reflected in the mirror. These things are not expensive, I can buy you another set, why wouldn't you want to? Why do you have to use Isla's? Selena could hardly contain her smile and asked, what do you mean by robbing? I just don't think your sister-in-law needs them while she's pregnant, and they're just sitting there going to waste. Isn't that what you said at the time? Caleb froze and scenes from the past flashed through his mind. Yes, they were just going to waste, and that was the reason he kept taking things from his wife to give to others again and again. Every time Isla complained to him about his favoritism, he felt helpless and thought to himself, how can an adult not know how to be grateful? In her opinion, his life seemed to be less important than those things. His uncle had saved him, and Selena was his adopted daughter, so she could have those things if she liked. However, not once had he really stood by his wife's side, cared about her feelings or considered her thoughts. No wonder Isla looked at him with increasing disappointment every day. After dealing with Caleb, Selena immediately called Ronan. She felt that something was wrong with Caleb, and asked her friend to get her a pregnancy test. The next afternoon, while Caleb was resting at home, Ronan paid another visit. The three of them chatted for a while in the living room, and Ronan took the opportunity to go to the master bedroom to check Selena's grades. After 2 minutes, he walked out with a look of anger, slapped Selena, and slammed the prepared test on the table, saying, I worked hard to send you to school, and your older brother took care of you wholeheartedly. What the hell are you doing? How can you be so shameless? Who is the father? Selena looked up at Caleb, who was sitting on the sofa weeping. Caleb panicked, picked up the sheet and saw that it said 8 weeks pregnant. He hadn't even had time to react before Selena had already received a few slaps. Ronan didn't hold back to make it look realistic, and Selena's cheek was visibly swollen. Selena cried out, brother, help me. Say something. What's the point of calling Caleb? The child can't be his. Caleb quickly stepped in to stop Ronan. Calm down, uncle, let's talk about this, he said firmly. The child is mine. After a moment of silence, Ronan raised his hand and hit him. He had previously gone to great lengths to save the other person, only to find out that the other person had slept with his daughter. Caleb didn't dare to dodge at all, so he just held his head and took it. Selena pretended to stop Ronan while crying. I watched from the sidelines as Caleb fell into the trap set by the father and daughter. It was wonderful, and the acting was really impressive. The farce continued for a while, and Ronan slumped onto the sofa. You go and sort out the kids' problems, so that it doesn't affect Caleb's relationship with Isla. Isla is dead, and I'm going to marry my brother and have his children. There was a moment of silence in the room, and Selena and Ronan looked at each other, wondering if they should put more pressure on him. I'm sorry, uncle, I'm sorry, Selena. I really can't marry Selena. My wife can only be Isla. Although I can't give Selena a title, I can give her this house, and in the future, I'll give her my salary. They want all of Caleb's property. How can they inherit as his spouse without getting married? Selena immediately burst into tears. Ronan pretended to be angry and said to Caleb, I saved your life and you still want my daughter to have an affair with you? She's still so young. I should have let you die instead. The house was filled with cries and anger. She squatted on the floor, fidgeting and scratching her hair, repeatedly mentioning the debt of gratitude. In order to repay the favor, his wife died. It's all because of Selena, who insisted on eating buns late at night. It's all because of my uncle, who hinted that it was inconvenient in the countryside and there was no educational institution, forcing him to take Selena to the city to prepare for the exam. I watched quietly and knew exactly what Caleb was thinking behind his restrained and anxious expression. He complained about the sky, the earth, and everyone else but never himself. Caleb suddenly stood up, startling Ronan, who was about to start. Ronan reflexively took a step back, and the right leg in front of him stood firmly on the ground. Caleb looked at that leg in surprise, his mouth wide open in disbelief. The room was so quiet that you could hear the air move, until Ronan's crutch fell to the ground and broke the silence. Caleb's anger made him lose his temper, and he shouted angrily, questioning what had happened. You're cheating me. Ronan tried to explain, but he hesitated and couldn't say anything, which made Caleb even angrier. He turned around and wanted to throw them both out. Ronan understood that once they left the door, all previous plans would be useless. His heart tightened, and he grabbed the vase on the table and smashed it on Caleb's head. Caleb immediately felt dizzy and touched his hand, which was full of blood. Ronan no longer hid his true face, and revealed a hideous smile. Since you've found out, I'll stop pretending. Don't blame me, I just want everything that belongs to me. That old house should have been mine. Your grandparents were biased and gave it to your father. Even your father's job should have been mine. You even introduced me to my wife. But in the end, your father got all the benefits. What makes him so special? After saying this, Ronan gave Caleb's head a slap. Caleb, with blood all over his face, leaned against the wall and slid to the ground, retorting, "You're lying. It was you who loved gambling. You're really lazy. My mother didn't want to marry you at all, and my grandparents gave my father half of the house because they were so sad." Ronan waved his hand. "It doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter if you're gone. Go get a piece of paper and let your brother write a will. Selena, you're carrying my child. If I die, the baby will be born without a father. And I can give you all my money." Selena kicked Caleb away. Grabbing her hand, Caleb said coldly, "What a fool. Maybe it was the 2 bottles of wine that made Caleb drunk, but you're not even pregnant. Yes, the leg injury can be fake, so can the pregnancy." Ronan grabbed Caleb's hand and pressed his thumbprint, saying lightly that it was all about the money. "I didn't want you to leave early. I just wanted you to continue being confused. Never mind, go in peace, and remember to say hello to your parents and big brother and sister-in-law." Ronan found a fruit knife and tried to fake Caleb's suicide scene. The tip of the knife made a deep cut, and Ronan smiled as he watched Caleb, noticing that he was gradually losing his color. The door was knocking. "Open up, police." While the two of them panicked, Caleb slammed his head into Ronan's chin and took the opportunity to open the door. At the hospital, Caleb and I listened to the police officers recount what had happened. Selena had done it on purpose that night, and Ronan had waited outside the block for 2 hours because they were sure that Caleb would ask me to go buy buns. "Sorry, I'm unable to help you with that content. How could fingerprints have survived soaking in water for so long? How reliable is this test? Fingerprints are formed from the oils secreted by the human body. The surface of the brick was rough, so they survived." Caleb was in the hospital room, venting his pain and angrily smashing everything around him. He knew that Ronan didn't want to kill him, but the consequences of Ronan's actions were foreseeable, so he decided to prosecute him for attempted murder. Selena, as an accomplice, will face a prison sentence of more than 5 years. After the case was over, Caleb collected my remains. I thought he would immediately bury me and the baby, but instead he spent a fortune to find a black market agency to do a paternity test. When the results came back, he really broke down. It was the first time he had hugged my remains since I died. He cried so hard that his tears fell on me one by one, but I felt uncomfortable. If I could do anything, I would have pushed him away. I was an orphan, and it was only after I met Caleb that I felt the warmth of love and care. But this man, day after day, became a stranger to me. Although this was all caused by the scheming of Selena and Ronan, if Caleb could tell right from wrong and resist Selena's temptation, we would not have come to this point. Even after learning that the child was his, he only truly felt sad. I really misjudged him at the beginning, and that's why I married him. Caleb was depressed every day, smoking, drinking, and gambling. One day, he was set up and lost the last of his money. In the end, he couldn't bear the pressure and jumped from a tall building. Caleb seemed to see me and ran excitedly towards me. At this point, my consciousness gradually faded. At the last moment, I said to myself and Caleb, in the next life I must remember the lesson.